Hello, friends, and welcome to Season 8 of the Future Ready Librarians podcast series, Leading from the Library. This is a podcast for all librarians wherever you are in your journey. It is filled with amazing guests, important topics, and engaging conversations that will inspire, engage, and support all of us as future ready librarians. I am your host, Shannon McClintock Miller. I am the district teacher librarian at Van Meter Community School in Van Meter, Iowa, and I serve as the Future Ready Librarians leader. I have the pleasure of working within my library and school community and also with others around the country and world through Future Ready librarian events, conferences, consulting, writing, and more. I am honored to bring these voices and the work of others to our podcast and to all of you. Well, you're in for a treat today because we're going to talk to my friend Nina about her library makeover story, which I can't think of a more exciting topic right now because I have actually been working with the architect on our new space in our school. And so when I
Oh,
saw that was what we're going to talk about, I was like, this is going to be perfect and I can't even wait. And so the first thing though I would love to do is just have you introduce yourself.
okay. Hi, my name is Nina Canales, and I'm a librarian at a high school here in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah, I met Nina when I was there working with their librarians and just remember being impressed with things that we were talking with technology and with
Yeah,
books and kids. And so I'm really just excited to hear the story about how you created a library for your teens. And, out of all the kids that we work with, they're all so important. And those teenagers that we are so fortunate to work with, they have just a special place, right, in our hearts. And so
right.
creating this space for them had to have been such a highlight of your career to do.
It has been, I want to say, like literally life transforming and changing, but stressful, but exciting all at the same time and overwhelming. It's been a roller coaster, but seeing it finally since 2020, because I've been doing this since 2020, that it's happening has been, I mean, kind of like I don't know, like this light at the end of the tunnel, like I can't believe it's actually happening, it's actually here.
Oh, that's
And
great.
I'm working, yeah, and it's been, I'm trying to get everything together, my before and after pictures to kind of hopefully write a blog or do something with all this information because I mean, I feel like librarians who are struggling with this right now or like are stuck, I have so much advice that I could give them to get
Yeah.
through something like this. Yeah, because starting from ground zero, and I don't know if that's a good term to put it in, but starting from scratch pretty much. And it's a huge library too. I think in our district, it's one of the like top three biggest libraries in our district.
So that
So
would be a big,
yeah,
I know.
yeah.
Well, and I would love to just start like from the beginning. Like
Mhm.
and especially not even so much in like the physical things that you did, but kind of like the why behind
Mhm.
oh this transformation too. Let's start there.
So when I walked into this library, the school had been going through a 5-year remodel. And this poor librarian that was there before me, they had made the library into classrooms. So there were, it wasn't a it was still a functioning library. She was still a librarian, but there were three permanent classrooms all teaching at the same time inside of the library for 3.5 years, I believe.
Goodness.
And then she retired. So whenever I walked in, it was whatever was left there. And it was the same furniture, probably from the early 2000s, maybe even the 90s. It didn't feel like a welcoming library for our current teens. And I walked in and I was like, this space is amazing. It was huge and it had so much possibilities. And just browsing the shelves and looking at the sad furniture and everything, I was like, this place needs love. And I saw it though. Like right away, I was like, this place has potential, but I need like a 5-year plan or something
Yeah.
to happen, but it it just the school that I work at, it's such a unique school. We have different academies within the school. So I kind of knew that they needed the library, but they didn't need that library. They needed something else. It needed to be a place that they could actually use as a library. Yeah.
Well, that's so neat. I know I always love to hear like, the story of, and it's usually like you come in to a space and you get to see like the potential and what to
Mhm.
do. So they're so lucky that you saw that and that you took on this big task too. And so
Yeah, it
I'm
it
sure they just love it.
yeah, it was a lot. Literally 2020, I just spent cleaning. It was
Yeah.
all cleaning, taking out um all the boxes and things that were just dumped in there. And not luckily, that was horrible, but like 2020 we were shut down.
Yes.
And we had for the first half we had partial students on campus, but luckily I had that time to literally I went to work in leggings every day. I told my principal, I'm sorry. I'm not coming in work clothes. I need to come in gym clothes. This place needs like, nitty gritty. I need to clean and get rid of stuff. So I did that.
I
Uh,
love it.
yeah. Hmm.
Awesome. I know. Let's start from just even the beginning. Like, I'm sure that there was a lot of weeding that needed to be done.
That was the first task. And when I say I was shocked, but not surprised, that when I did our data and I did an infographic for my principal and everything, our nonfiction collection was 85% of the collection was over 20 years old.
Oh, wow.
Um, and it was, it- yeah, that was just the nonfiction. The fiction wasn't as bad. It was still very updated, but it still needed, I would say, a good 80% to 70 to 80% gone because I couldn't find anything really relevant or current or diverse enough for our population that was on there. There were
Yeah.
books from the 2010s, those corny like covers that the kids will look at now and kind of cringe at, and like, what is this?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, uh, it was a lot. So in the first semester, I weeded fiction first. I had to work on that because that's where I wanted to bring the kids back in. And I have to say there was about 50 boxes of books by the first semester that I just got rid of and started reordering then. But I was really looking for more diverse and current books for our kids for
Well, and
then.
that's something too
Mhm.
that always I think is one of the best parts of weeding and just having space on your shelves to order new
Yeah.
books. And like it's also when kids can be part of that process because they probably saw what you were doing. And so like just that process of being able to even get them involved in the new books that came into the library, I'm sure was fun.
It really was. And I had a lot of kids volunteer to come. They call it beep the books. They were there beeping and deleting the books for me. And they would pick up a book and be like, what is that? And I was like, that's a computer. And it was one of those like big white clunky things that used to be in the wall. And I was
Oh,
like,
yes.
that's a computer. We have books like that on our shelf.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so and then the cell phone, it was like the little Nokia flip thing, like, so they were cracking up but they were learning, like, yeah, we don't need this. So it
Yeah.
was kind of cool that they were getting it, like, yeah.
Yeah. To be see it. How did you go about like just ordering new books? I mean, I can't imagine like the numbers of
Yeah.
books you had to order, which is so fun too.
Yeah, that was a lot. I did luckily we have some really good vendor consultants that help me out, but I always go by the TLA lists
Yeah.
first and all of our good lists for the fiction and nonfiction and what's current. Luckily I'm a big YA reader anyway, so that was easy. But it's still I still feel like I'm back there because it's 2024 and I'm barely ordering the nonfiction right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I had to use my budgeting every year for fiction first. And I did do a little bit of nonfiction, but what I did was I looked at our academies that were on campus. Like we have an engineering academy, a biomed academy, and we have an IB World School. So I had to pick and choose like from the sciences or the medical first. And then I did current topics because our kids wanted the high interest nonfiction, like the untold stories and the
Uh,
podcasty stories and those kinds of things, high interest to get them to want to read nonfiction a little bit more. So, but it was so hard because people think $10,000 is a lot for books, and it's not because they don't realize that we pay full price for the book. It's not some
yeah.
bargain sale, or something for a school discount, so it's yeah, it's been a ride. And even choosing this semester, it was so hard because I want to order more fiction because that's what the kids love to read. But I was like, oh, I need nonfiction though.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Well, and there's so many good, like, a lot of time I'm addicted to like picture books that are nonfiction. And
Mhm.
oftentimes, like, that's the hook that I need to get them to read. And
Yes.
so it's exciting when we can do that with our high school kids too. I think that's so fun.
Well, they're really into documentaries. They
Yeah.
love it. So if even recently, I just tweeted about it, that a student came in looking for the book on the Andes flight that crashed.
Yes.
And we had it. I had the original book and they went for it right away. And then somebody came in, they're like, do you have anything about, they're like, I hope this isn't weird, but like true crime, like the Dahmer stuff. And I said, actually, I do. There's graphic novels. And they were like, what? You have that kind of stuff in here? Because that's what they're watching.
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Yeah, it's crazy, but I love that they're making that connection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you need to hook them. I love that.
And that's what the teens need. They need that
Yeah.
that marketing strategy kind of to get them in there to read.
Well, and I know that you also mentioned that you have these new zones in your library, and I would love to know more about what you did there.
Yeah, so actually, this is a Dallas ISD initiative, and we were so fortunate to get it. I don't know how we got it. I can't speak for that, but it's called Project READ, and it's the acronym READ because we love our acronyms. And it was this initiative with Apple Education also, so it was kind of like this cohort thing, and it stands for uh, it stands for Reading Exploration Application Design and research. I'm sorry, research, exploration, application, and design. And it was a shift in literally 180 in our libraries, kind of like what I was already doing to make it into these zones for students to be able to use the library more just for coming in for books. So we have the research, and of course, that's our bread and butter, the research. The exploration zones, we've been bringing in coding and VR and AR, even drones in some of the schools. Yeah, and then application is kind of a mix of both, and it's kind of like a way I use it in my library as the makerspace area, as with the design as well. So we have these zones now that are kind of just areas in the library that students can zone into. And then for me, especially the kids in our teens still love to color. They ask for coloring pages. They want to crochet. They want to make little perler beads, the SEL kind of area um, in the library too. So there's all of that. And then design is pretty much just what making the environment, and that's the future ready that I was looking at is the environment, making it a place where students feel like they can come in and feel safe, feel welcomed, and have a spot somewhere to go wherever they want they're feeling that day.
I know that's one thing that as you were talking, and I just think about like our library and sitting down and thinking about the new space that we're going to have
Mhm.
and what like the kids will go to first, like how they come into the library and they all have something different that they are interested in. And so I'm sure when they come to your library, they can find whatever little niche that they want
Yeah,
to
they
be able to.
do.
I think that is so neat. That's a true like library for kids.
It's so funny on some days, and the kids, one of them said, don't record us, miss. And I said, I'm not. I just want to take a picture because there was one point where I had one of the favorite area right now is our study area because we have these cool little cubicle privacy cubicles and booths and things where they could go just hide and be in their own world. And there was this group of IB students over there, studying. And on the other side, I had the baseball team over there, like sitting and like playing cards and like kind of being loud, but not disruptive loud, just being, baseball boys.
Yeah.
And then I had my anime group in the back reading manga. And it was just kind of this really cool, like,
That's,
mix of all these kids in there. And then I had some kids who just had their headphones on and were like in a corner, like, leave me alone. And I loved it. I was like, this is what we need. Like, and this is the first year in 4 years that I've ever seen athletes in the library just coming in to like hang out. They're usually in the locker room or the gym, but I love that they're coming in there now, but it was just such a cool feeling that, and it surprised me that the kids are actually looking for an academic library, but also a fun library at the same time.
yeah, something that fits all their needs, which is so
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
now that's really special. And that makes our job, I think it's why we're librarians, that we love to make sure that all kids feel welcome, that all kids feel like they're part of like something that is so great, not only in their library, but in their school community. And, a lot of times those relationships and connections can happen in what we give them in the library.
100%, 100%. I think the biggest thing that shocked me though, for the most part, I was shocked that these teens wanted a quiet library. Like they wanted it to be like a college library. Like they wanted study space. And I was kind of like, and I figured it out, I didn't realize how loud their classrooms are, and not loud in a bad way, but for some of them, they were like, I can't work in here. So the library became a quiet space. And I've even had one student who got up to go tell a group of teachers to quiet down because they were being too loud, which I thought was so awesome. I was like, whoa. And I
Wow, that
said, but I had to tell him, I was like, it's a shared space. It's not going to be 100% quiet, but they are craving that quiet space. And I know people are like, don't be a librarian. But if that's what my kids want for that day, that's what I'm going to do.
because they have I think that's, your library can also like change with what your community needs and what your
Yeah,
and so that is so fun too. I know, and through all of this, I'm sure you've had like lots of other little aha moments and things that been like that you'll remember. And I would love to know what some of those are.
um, I I now have in one of our application zone is pretty much like the broadcasting zone. It became like a podcasting table and green screen. We have iPads to record and all that fun stuff. And I just thought, this is a cool addition, but that's been like the main attraction. And I kind of never realized I was like, hello, that's what these kids they're
Yeah.
seeing the TikTok and podcast kids their age, just sitting around microphones, like having conversations. And that's what this little table is. And it's been booking more and more every day. But the kids at first were kind of just like, oh, but we can't just make a podcast. And I said, yes, you can. That's what it's there for. They're like, what does it have to be about? I was like, whatever you want. And
That's
they couldn't, they were kind of like, I said, guys, I'm not going to publish this or upload it. Once you record, you keep whatever you record, and I don't have, this is yours. So once that was getting out, they were kind of like, oh, so this is just an opportunity. I said, yeah, it's just there for you to use.
oh, that's
And I
cool.
didn't realize that was gonna bring in that many more kids that I'd never seen before
That's
um
really
into
neat.
the library. Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty cool. That was a really good aha moment. And the other main one was like, oh, the kids are craving silence. Okay, that's cool. We're gonna do that for you. I don't mind having some quiet time either. And then of course, just making sure that everyone felt welcomed in there is
Yeah.
like the hardest part though, because we're a public school, so there's some days I have to close for testing or and
Yes.
and they act like it's the end of the world. I'm like, guys, it's one day, you'll be fine. And they're like, where are we supposed to go? I was like, to your class.
I love that though.
They're like, where are we supposed to go? And they'll even like do the fake tears to me. And I'm like,
Oh,
guys, I'm so sorry. Just it's one day.
yeah, that's so neat though.
Yeah.
Well, and they also love that you're there, which is
Yeah.
such a neat thing. Do you have a associate in your library?
Um, a student or like another, like a clerk or,
Oh, both, like
oh
a
yeah. Oh no,
student or
it's just me, but then I do have students who have become kind of like my I've heard people refer to them as ambassadors or like my
yeah,
executives. And I
yeah.
call one of them, they've been with me since they were a freshman, and I even made special badge that says library executive on there, assistant, because they pretty much claim that this is my library, but they also can run it whenever I'm gone too. And yes, I do have seniors mostly who come and help out and will take over, and I love that. They just own it. And one of them recently, he's supposed to be going to culinary or something, and he's been my assistant this year, and he started asking me like, what do I need to do to become a librarian? And he just asked me
Oh,
that
love it.
before spring break, and he was like, I think I would really like something like this.
You're like,
So, and
that's
I was
amazing.
I know, and he was just, and he even would pay attention to my conversations and would comment and say things like, I really like how you talked to her about those books. I could tell that you really enjoy talking about stories. And I was like, yeah. So they're paying attention. I have to realize that too.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think teens are not paying attention to the adults, but some of them do.
Oh,
Some
yes.
of them do. We're not ignored 100%.
Wow. Good influence on them. Oh, I
Yeah, because people usually think the teens are don't care about what adults think. So
they do.
that is a big aha for me too, honestly. I was like, oh, they are watching, they are listening. Okay.
That makes it so
Awesome.
much better, all this
It
work
does.
you're doing. I
It
love it.
does. It
Well,
does.
I love watching what you share on social. And so I want you to tell everybody where they can follow you and your story. And I didn't know you were on TikTok. And so I'm not really on TikTok, but I like will find people to watch. So now I'm going to watch.
Yeah.
So tell everybody
Oh
they
God.
can watch.
Okay. Well, I'm a Nina the Geek lib, which is short for librarian, and that's going to be both on X and on Insta. And then on TikTok, I'm Nina the Geek Librarian.
I can't wait to keep up on your story and just reach out to you too for inspiration. So thank you so much for joining me.
Aw, same to you. It was such an honor for you to ask to do this. It was so much fun.
As always, thank you to all of our listeners for joining us for this episode of the Future Ready Librarian podcast series, Leading from the Library. And a very special thank you to our sponsors, Follett. You make a difference in our libraries, schools, and within our lives and that of our students every day. We appreciate everything you do. I hope you can take what you learned in today's podcast and put it to use within your practice as a future-ready librarian. If I can support you in any way, please feel free to reach out to me on X or Instagram at Shannon M. Miller or to my email at shannonmcclintockmiller@gmail.com. I am always happy to help. Until next time, friends, keep finding ways to lead within and from your library.